This is Mastering Your Wealth with David Gagnon, the podcast.
We are living longer. Let's face it. I mean, back in the day, people retired at 55-ish. You know, they got the gold watch, as they said, and they maybe made it to 75 or 80. Now folks are retiring, 65, 70-ish, and they're living, some people are living to 100, if not more. So when you start to tell people, hey, guys, we got to start, making sure your income's going to be there for you for the next 30, maybe even 40 years, I guess a lot of people go, well, wait a minute. Is that a realistic expectation, or is he trying to scare me here? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
No, that's a very important question because, when people hear 40-year retirement, and I always can fall back on my dad. He's going to be 97 this year, and he's still in great shape. He's on the treadmill every morning. He still drives. He reads books every week. And I had a client in the other day, and both her parents lived till late 90s, and she's in her early 70s, and she's planning on a long retirement. And we planned her income plan accordingly. And we always plan our retirement forecast for folks to at least get them out to age 95 to 100. Unless somebody has a health issue and they know for certain they'll never make it that far. But you always want to plan your money to be longer than your life expectancy. And, a 40-year retirement, it can sound exaggerated, but it's not for some folks. I don't think the point is to scare people. I think the point is to get people to plan using realistic assumptions. A 40-year retirement will not apply to everybody. For some people, especially those who retire in their late 50s or early 60s and live into their 90s, it's an absolute possibility. And so the issue is not whether every person will spend 40 years in retirement. The issue is whether your plan can survive if retirement lasts much longer than expected. And I see a lot of people make unrealistic assumptions if they're trying to figure this out on their own, that they're not taking into account a longer life expectancy than they should. And that's where things can fall apart fast when you get halfway through retirement and you're in great health and you're worried about, okay, well, my plan shows I got 5 more years, but it looks like I could live another 10 to 15. That's a position where you're going to find yourself making some drastic spending reductions and things. So, and this is where a lot of traditional retirement planning assumptions can break down. So years ago, retirement planning was often built around a shorter retirement. Many people had pensions. They retired around 65. They maybe lived 15 to 20 years and had more predictable sources of income. But today, pensions are less common. People are relying more heavily on Social Security. And if you look at the statistics in the U.S., almost half our population only lives on Social Security.
Which is crazy because that is certainly, I want to say scraping by it, barely making it by in general. And that's why, David, you always talk about having, different streams of income. We know there's an absence of the pension. So that's always the question of, can I create guaranteed income for the rest of my life? The answer is yes.
Yeah, we can do that. And we can personalize all these income plans. But if you have Social Security, 401ks, IRAs, personal savings, investment accounts, and you don't have a pension, that means you as a retiree is going to carry more responsibility and more risk in making good decisions to make that money work for itself, to create that paycheck and make your retirement work from a financial perspective. So the risks become much bigger when you stretch the timeline, because it's a challenge to make your money last for many years and have it impacted by inflation risk, because cost of living can rise dramatically, and we've seen that in the short term especially. But over a 25, 30, 40-year period, that's daunting when you go back. I mean, I think when I was growing up, where I grew up, there was a McDonald's at the end of my road, right? Mm-hmm. And a bag of French fries at McDonald's was 15 cents.
Oh, my
gosh. Hamburger was 20 cents. Now, what's a hamburger?
I know a Happy Meal is about $8, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. And you have healthcare risk. That is a big thing that's derailing many, many retirements. And you don't have to be that elderly to have a healthcare risk. If you fall and break your hip and you're in your early 60s,
sure,
and it doesn't heal right, and you have to go through a nursing facility to get rehabbed. I've seen this with a client a few years back. He was in his late 60s. They were about ready to travel. He fell down, had a bad injury, and it hasn't healed right, and he needed skilled nursing care. And he had to take a lot of money out of his retirement accounts to pay for that. And now they can't travel because they don't have the money anymore. and it's just not going to work out. And so, there's so many variables that it's so important to plan for. And if you don't have a strategic plan, give us a call. If you're trying to work through this and you have a plan of hope, which is not the way to go forward in retirement, give us a call. We can have a conversation to see how we can put you on a better path to having a real plan.
Absolutely. And we can do that for you today. The best news of it is, guys, it is complimentary. All it takes is time from you right now, picking up that phone and calling and saying, I want to get serious about my retirement. I want to do this retirement forecast, as David mentioned here, making sure my money's going to last as long as I need it to, despite all these uncertain moving parts like our economy, inflation, etc. That phone number, 203-872-0009. 203-872-0009. And again, that website, of course, masteringyourwealthradio.com. Check that out, by the way. You can also book an appointment there with David if that's easier for you. Again, that website, masteringyourwealthradio.com. We saw this Social Security question from a money.com reader. And I have to tell you, this is the first time I think I've heard this, David. They said they don't need the benefits, but they plan to claim it at full retirement age anyway. And then they're going to invest the checks and let the money grow. So when I first hear that, I go, well, I don't know. I guess that's kind of a good strategy if you don't necessarily need the Social Security money. But what are your thoughts on this?
Oh, gosh, I'll tell you, I get this question so many times. And Social Security decisions that people make has turned out to be one of the costliest mistakes that I've seen people make over the years. It's such an important decision that we always work this out right when we start working with folks. We do a Social Security optimization analysis report so we know what that best decision is going to be for that person or married couple. And then we build a retirement plan around that. Because, this is one of those strategies that can sound smart at first glance. Somebody says, I don't need my Social Security right now, so why not claim it and invest the checks and let that money grow? Well, now, there are several things that most people overlook. The first is the value of delaying Social Security. Now, if you delay benefits beyond your full retirement age, and for a lot of folks right now it's age 67, your benefit generally will increase by what's called a delayed retirement credit of 8% for each of the next 3 years until you turn 70. Now, people have been getting this forever unless they change the rules again, but that is a very powerful increase because it is tied to a government-backed lifetime income stream, which comes with a cost of living adjustment. Now, there are a lot of people that don't have lifetime incomes, and their Social Security is the only lifetime income benefit. And so you want to make sure you make a good decision with that benefit, because once you make it, you can't go back unless it's been done within 12 months, and then you figure out you made a bad mistake. You could go back and undo it. So the comparison isn't simply, can I invest the checks and earn money? There's a lot of things that go into that decision. And so the real comparison is, can I invest the checks after taxes with market risk and reliably beat the guaranteed increase I would receive by delaying Social Security? Second issue is longevity. And a lot of times when we do this Social Security benefit analysis, the algorithms are all built in based on what you think your life expectancy is for husband and wife, your respective benefits. It will calculate when you should take each person to optimize your joint lifetime income benefits, when and what age you should take it. And here's the other thing. With a married couple, the survivor, when a spouse dies, the survivor only gets one of the two benefits. It's always the higher of the two.
Okay, gotcha.
That's a very important decision. When you do retirement income planning, we have to look at what is the optimum timing based on the analysis to take your Social Security, because it's going to be a big part of that survivor's plan for the rest of their life. So Social Security is not just an investment decision, it's longevity insurance. And the longer you live, the more valuable that larger delayed Social Security benefit's going to play in your plan. The third issue was married couples and making sure you make that decision based on their personalized planning needs and life expectancy. But the fourth issue is taxes. Social Security benefits can be taxable depending on what other income sources you have. So if someone claims benefits and they invest in the checks, and also they have IRA withdrawals coming in, and pensions, dividends, capital gains, or any other income, that may increase the taxation on your Social Security. And so that reduces the amount actually available to invest. And you're taking risk along the way to do that, unless it's going into a safe investment. The other issue is market risk. The person claims Social Security and they invest the checks right before a market downturn. Strategy may not work out the way they expected, because Social Security's delayed retirement credits are not subject to market volatility. So think about this. Where can you get a guaranteed 8% increase on a lifetime benefit that comes with a cost of living adjustment? You can't do that by investing in the market and make it, work after you pay the taxes on those Social Security benefits and invest it. You got to be pretty right most of the time.
Boy, there's no guarantee when you invest. I mean, that's just how it is.
So now, does that mean nobody should claim at full retirement and invest the benefits? Not necessarily, but there are cases where claiming earlier makes sense. If your health status, is at a point where you don't anticipate longevity, cash flow needs might require you to take it sooner. Tax planning, might be part of the decision process. Your investment goals, estate goals, all this stuff matters. So I would not make a decision based only on the idea that I can invest that check. I had a client, a few years back, a married couple where the husband had the higher Social Security benefit. He was considering claiming at full retirement age because they did not need the money at the time. And he was planning on investing it. So we analyzed everything. And the key issue was not just his lifetime benefit. The key issue was his wife. So she would have had a smaller benefit and was likely to rely on that survivor benefit if he passed away first. So by delaying his benefit, he was not just increasing his own monthly income, he was increasing the potential income floor for his wife. So that changed their decision. And we also looked at the taxation. So if he had claimed Social Security while they were still doing IRA withdrawals and some Roth conversions, it would have changed the tax picture in a big way. So we just coordinated the Social Security timing with their tax strategy, and the numbers looked much better after we finished that. So the planning point is Social Security is not to be claimed in a vacuum. It should be coordinated with your overall retirement income plan, your tax plan, your investment plan, your survivor plan. And like I said, the costly mistakes that people make when they take their Social Security is in their blind spot because they have not completed a detailed analysis of claiming earlier versus later and align that with their planning objectives. So, sometimes the answer is to claim, sometimes the answer is to delay, but the decision should be based on analysis, not just the simple idea that investing that check might be better. And, it's complicated, like any government program, Social Security, Medicare.
Yeah, the government doesn't make anything simple. I mean, that is the case for sure. You mentioned the Social Security optimization report. Listen, if you're getting close to that time where you can claim Social Security, as you said, the full retirement age these days is around 67, and you're wondering, how and when do I claim? Should I claim as immediately? Do I wait till I'm, 70 and capitalize on that 8% growth each year for the next 3 years? This Social Security optimization report is going to lay everything out for you. And again, everyone's financial journey is going to be different. This is why this is a custom optimization report made just for you, because it also depends on your other streams of income. It also depends on your plans in retirement. These are all different moving factors, right? All the pieces have to work together. So again, if you'd like to come in for this Social Security optimization report, call right now. That's 203-872-0009. 203-872-0009. That website, masteringyourwealthradio.com. Real quick, David, before we go to break here, again, we talk about some of the most important decisions that folks will make in their lifetime. This is about their income, their financial future, Social Security. This is literally, besides buying a house or choosing who you're going to marry, this is probably one of the biggest decisions. Why should people come in and sit with you? Yes, you have over 3 decades of experience, but why should somebody come and sit with you and go through your process? What are they going to get through you and your experience and your process that they won't get from, the guy down the road?
Well, they're going to get clarity with what they're doing today with their money, because we'll do an analysis looking into the future with what that might look like. And most people I talk to have not been through that exercise. They're working very hard. They're saving what they can. And then when they get to retirement, they hope for the best. And one of the biggest things that I see that people are being underserved with is future forward-looking tax reduction strategies. The masses have been told to max fund their pre-tax retirement accounts, and nobody's looking at what that might look like in the future when they have to take their required minimum distributions. And for those folks that do a great job at saving on a pre-tax basis, we can show them today what their tax problem is going to look like later. And now we can have a meaningful discussion about, all right, how do you do real planning? How do you have something in your numbers designed strategically that looks at your cash flowing, People are losing money just in how they cash flow their money, what comes in and what gets paid out, how they finance and pay off their homes. Costly mistakes there. And we show people how to optimize that asset and how to optimize the opportunities to just shred their debt with good cash flow management and show them the right strategies. How do they properly fund their retirement? Because the monies are going in the wrong places, especially from a tax planning perspective. You should have a certain amount if you want to really take advantage of the tax code. If you know the tax code and the financial formula on what you store and accumulate your money in different tax types, whether it's taxable investments, tax deferred, tax free, you could be in a tax free retirement with a very high six-figure income very easily.
Nice.
Okay. Now, I can get folks to that place if I get to them younger and they haven't made the same mistakes their parents made or their grandparents made along the way because they followed flawed advice. And then we look at, all right, what are the other strategies that should be part of your planning? All right, when a spouse passes away, you should have a backup plan that's already in place for that survivor. What about out-of-pocket health care that derails so many retirements today? And so we go through a process of evaluating, doing detailed analysis. From the details of that analysis, we get a lot of answers. We see what's not going to work in the future, and now we have opportunities today to implement optimization opportunities with the right strategies, the right investment tools, the right income plan, the right tax plan. And so if you don't have that type of clarity, give us a call because you're likely making mistakes you don't see in your blind spot that will compound until if and when you figure this out.
Absolutely.
And so it's harder to unravel later. It's more painful.
For more details or to sit down with David for your complimentary financial GPS, visit masteringyourwealthradio.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Wealth Advisors, LLC, BWA, a registered investment advisor and an affiliate of Brookstone Capital Management, LLC. BWA and First Financial Planners are independent of each other. Insurance products and services are not offered through BWA, but are offered and sold through individually licensed and appointed agents.
Information provided is not intended as tax or legal advice and should not be relied on as such. You are encouraged to seek tax or legal advice from an independent professional.
Any comments regarding safe and secure products and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. Fixed insurance and annuity product guarantees are subject to the claims paying ability of the issuing company and are not offered by Brookstone.
David Gagnon and First Financial Planners are not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency.
Registered investment advisors and investment advisor representatives act as fiduciaries for all of our investment management clients. We have an obligation to act in the best interests of our clients and to make full disclosure of any conflicts of interest. Please refer to our firm brochure of the ADV 2A Item 4 for additional information.